I want to bring in ABC News legal analyst Brian Buckmeyer for more on this. Brian, great to see you and have you here in studio. The judge is saying Trump's attorneys and his Justice Department weren't really at odds in this case. Why is that so important here?
It's important because it's in the Constitution that it has to be that way. Article 3, Section 2, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution is what we call, or at least part of it, is called the case and controversy section. That basically means there needs to be two opposing sides for the courts to have some sort of ability to work. They're supposed to judge two sides. And what the judge did and laid out in this 56-page decision was that both sides are basically operating under the same umbrella. That not only through the executive orders of the president saying that he has the ability to articulate and understand how laws work, but also his ability to control who is within the IRS or the Department of Treasury shows that he's operating on both sides as plaintiff and defendant and has the ability to negotiate with themselves.
All right, Adam again back with something you'll like. A judge orders the immediate arrest of Trump's lawyers after they admit to hiding evidence has exploded across YouTube. While dramatic and compelling, the incident is based on unconfirmed reports and should be treated as speculation until verified. Multiple viral videos with millions of views are all presenting some version of this exact scenario. Judge orders immediate arrest as Trump lawyer admits everything. Courtroom in total chaos. Lawyers being handcuffed in front of stunned observers. Trump's entire defense collapsing in real time. The videos describe the scene in vivid, dramatic detail. The shock on everyone's faces, the gasps from the gallery, the bailiffs moving in, the sound of handcuffs clicking shut. It's presented as the ultimate moment of accountability, the moment when justice finally catches up with Trump's legal team in the most public and humiliating way possible. But here's what you need to understand about this viral phenomenon. Most of these videos are dramatized or explicitly labeled as fictional. They're taking the concept of what could happen if Trump's lawyers got caught in serious misconduct and turning it into perfect YouTube content.
Tonight, a federal judge in Michigan has decided that a whole slew of Trump lawyers involved in those efforts should be disbarred as lawyers, or to be specific, she has ruled tonight that they must be referred to disciplinary authorities in their home states, quote, for investigation and possible suspension or disbarment, meaning having their law licenses suspended or being disbarred, being kicked out of the legal profession. This judge's order tonight applies to Trump lawyer Sidney Powell, who will be referred to the Bar Association in Texas for potential disbarment. Trump lawyer Lynn Wood will be referred to the Bar Association in Georgia for disbarment. This broad sanctions and potential disbarment order from this federal judge reaches out and hits all 9 of these Trump lawyers in jurisdictions all across the country.
The distinction between what's dramatized and what's actually documented in court records is getting completely blurred. And millions of people are consuming this content thinking they're watching coverage of real events, when actually they're watching speculation or fiction packaged as breaking news. Now, to be clear, there have been real issues with Trump's lawyers in real cases. Judges have sanctioned Trump's attorneys. There have been threats of contempt. There have been referrals for disciplinary action. Trump's legal team has absolutely faced criticism and consequences for their conduct in various cases. But an immediate arrest in a courtroom after a lawyer admits everything, that specific dramatic scenario, that's mostly YouTube content rather than documented legal reality. And we need to break down both what's real and what's dramatized, because understanding the difference is crucial to actually understanding Trump's legal situation, rather than just consuming emotionally satisfying fiction about his lawyers getting arrested.
I think it's a very good and happy coincidence for those who want to grill the Attorney General in this committee. But I can tell you, I think in about 90 minutes, I got to go to the Southern District to do my own sentencing. Judges have too many moving pieces, whether it be their own cases, their own personal lives, the attorneys they got to deal with, to then think, you know what? Attorney A.G. Blanche is going to be deciding something or in a hearing committee. Maybe I should have this decision today so he could be grilled on it. I don't think that's what's going on, but a happy coincidence for those who want to do some grilling.
Let's talk about what these videos are actually claiming. The scenario is almost identical across multiple channels. Trump's lawyers are in court. Maybe it's a hearing about the classified documents case. Maybe it's about election interference. Maybe it's about financial fraud. It doesn't really matter which case, because the narrative structure is the same. The lawyers are being questioned by the judge or by prosecutors, and under intense pressure, under threat of perjury charges, one of them cracks. They admit they've been hiding evidence. They admit they misled the court about what Trump knew or did. They essentially confess to obstruction of justice right there on the record in front of everyone. And according to these videos, the judge's response is immediate and dramatic. The judge finds the lawyer in contempt of court, orders them arrested on the spot. Bailiffs come forward. The lawyer is handcuffed right there in the courtroom. Complete chaos. Other lawyers panicking. Trump's legal team in disarray. And the videos present this as the beginning of the end for Trump's defense. Because if his lawyers were hiding evidence and lying to the court...
Well, Dana, there is a lot of activity happening today, this meeting, that there was a question of whether something like this would happen after Donald Trump received that target letter informing him and his lawyers that he was very likely to be indicted related to the 2020 election and his behavior leading up to and on January 6th. And so this is the sort of meeting that would often be an opportunity for the defense counsel before an indictment would be presented to a grand jury. And so we don't have a full readout, at least here at the courthouse yet, of exactly what's going to emerge there to affect what's going on here. But we have seen activity here too, Dana, at the courthouse. Prosecutors have been arriving throughout the morning from the special counsel's office. We've counted at least 4. That's a fairly large amount of prosecutors to come over here to be working with the grand jury. And the grand jury, they had not been in on their regular day on Tuesday after hearing from several witnesses.
What does that say about Trump's own conduct? If his legal team is being arrested for obstruction, how long until Trump himself faces arrest? One popular video describes a Trump lawyer straight up admitting they've been hiding evidence from prosecutors on camera in front of a judge. The result, according to the video, is contempt of court and immediate arrest, with bailiffs handcuffing a lawyer in the courtroom while everyone watches in shock. Another video describes the judge finding that Trump's lawyers were lying under oath and hiding evidence, warning that if the evidence shows Trump directed the obstruction, Trump faces immediate arrest too. The video calls it zero tolerance for the obstruction tactics Trump's team has been using. And the way these videos are titled and presented, with phrases like just in and breaking and immediate arrest, it sounds like live confirmed reporting from an actual federal case. It sounds like something that happened today or yesterday that you can verify in court records. But when you actually look at the video descriptions, when you listen to the disclaimers that some channels include, you find out that the content is fictional or speculative, that it's presenting a scenario of what could happen rather than what actually did happen in a documented court proceeding. This creates a massive information problem because the titles and thumbnails don't say fictional scenario or speculative analysis. They say judge orders immediate arrest. They say Trump lawyer admits everything. They present it exactly like breaking news. So viewers who see these videos in their feed, who click and watch the first few minutes, they're consuming this content as if it's real, as if there's actual video or transcripts of Trump's lawyers being arrested in court, and they're forming opinions about Trump's legal jeopardy based on scenarios that didn't actually happen the way the videos present them. Let's dig into why this particular narrative has become so popular and why the judge orders immediate arrest genre is everywhere right now. Multiple channels are producing very similar content with very similar titles and very similar dramatic scenarios. Understanding why this works, why it gets millions of views, tells you a lot about what audiences want and how the YouTube algorithm rewards certain types of content. The core narrative is always some version of this. Trump's lawyers are in court. They're being questioned about evidence, about communications with Trump, about what they knew and when they knew it. And under pressure, whether from the judge or from prosecutors, one of them admits something damaging. They admit they hid documents. They admit they lied about what Trump told them. They admit they coordinated with Trump on obstructing the investigation. And this admission happens on the record in open court where everyone can hear it. And according to these videos, the judge's response is swift and dramatic, finding the lawyer in contempt, ordering immediate arrest, bailiffs moving in to handcuff the lawyer right there in the courtroom. And the videos describe the scene in vivid detail, the shock on everyone's faces, the chaos as other lawyers scramble to respond, the implications for Trump's defense now that his own lawyers are being arrested for obstruction. It's presented as this perfect dramatic moment where justice finally catches up with Trump's team in the most public and humiliating way possible. One video describes it as the lawyer straight up admitting they've been hiding evidence from prosecutors on camera in front of a judge. The contempt finding is immediate. The arrest happens right there. And the video frames it as zero tolerance, as the judge finally saying, "Enough is enough," with Trump's obstruction tactics. Another video warns that if evidence shows Trump directed the obstruction, Trump himself faces immediate arrest too. So it's not just about the lawyer, it's about the implications for Trump. The idea that his lawyer is being arrested for hiding evidence means Trump must have known about it, must have directed it, and must face consequences himself. The appeal of this narrative is obvious. For people who believe Trump should face legal consequences, for people who think he's gotten away with too much for too long, the idea of his lawyers being arrested in court provides immediate satisfaction. It's justice happening in real time. It's accountability that doesn't require waiting for appeals or trials or political processes. It's dramatic and visual and emotionally satisfying in a way that real legal proceedings rarely are. But here's the problem. When you actually try to verify these scenarios, when you look for court transcripts or mainstream news coverage or official court filings documenting these immediate arrests, you don't find them. Because in most cases, these videos are presenting fictionalized or speculative content. They're taking the general concept that Trump's lawyers have faced scrutiny and criticism, which is true, and turning it into a specific dramatic scenario of immediate arrest that didn't actually happen in the way described. And some channels are somewhat transparent about this. If you read video descriptions carefully, if you listen to disclaimers at the end, you might see language like this content is fictional or not intended to represent real events. But that disclaimer is buried. It's in small text, it's mentioned briefly. The title and thumbnail and first few minutes of the video all present the content as if it's breaking news about a real court proceeding. So the average viewer who watches and then moves on to the next video, they're not seeing the disclaimer. They're consuming the content as news. Now, let's talk about what real lawyer misconduct and contempt actually looks like in Trump's cases, because there have been real issues. Trump's lawyers have absolutely faced consequences in various proceedings. In the New York civil fraud case, the judge criticized Trump's attorneys for making frivolous arguments and wasting the court's time. In various federal cases, judges have threatened sanctions. Some Trump lawyers have faced bar disciplinary proceedings. Rudy Giuliani lost his law license. John Eastman faced disbarment. So, the idea that Trump's legal team has crossed ethical lines, that's based in reality. But the immediate arrest scenario, that's dramatized, because in real legal proceedings, even when lawyers cross serious ethical lines, arrest isn't usually the first response. Judges typically start with warnings, then sanctions, which are financial penalties, then contempt findings, which can lead to fines or eventually jail time, then referrals to bar associations for disciplinary action. The process is usually gradual and procedural rather than immediate and dramatic. A judge finding a lawyer in contempt and ordering immediate arrest in the middle of a hearing would be extremely unusual. It would make national news. It would be covered by every mainstream outlet. It wouldn't just be on YouTube commentary channels. So what we have is a situation where real legal issues, real criticism of Trump's lawyers, real ethical violations in some cases, are being taken and turned into dramatized scenarios that provide the emotional payoff viewers are looking for. The grain of truth is that Trump's lawyers have faced consequences. The dramatization is the immediate arrest in open court, with bailiffs and handcuffs and chaos. And by blending the real and the dramatized, these videos create content that feels truthful, even when the specific scenarios they're describing didn't happen. And this raises important questions about information warfare and narrative building, because these videos aren't just entertainment. They're shaping how millions of people understand Trump's legal jeopardy. If you watch video after video claiming his lawyers are being arrested in court, you're going to believe Trump's legal situation is worse than it might actually be. You're going to expect immediate dramatic consequences. And when those consequences don't materialize in the way the videos promised, you might become cynical about the justice system or confused about what's actually happening. The viral courtroom arrest genre creates unrealistic expectations about how legal accountability works. It makes people think that justice looks like dramatic immediate arrests, when actually justice is slow and procedural and often anticlimactic. And when reality doesn't match the YouTube drama, people feel disappointed or betrayed. They think the system is broken because they've been conditioned to expect courtroom chaos and immediate arrests, rather than the mundane reality of sanctions, appeals, and disciplinary proceedings that take months or years to resolve. Here's the thing about contempt and arrest in real courtrooms. Judges do have the power to find lawyers in contempt and order them jailed. It happens, but it's rare, and it's usually a last resort after multiple warnings. A judge isn't going to order immediate arrest the first time a lawyer crosses a line. They're going to issue warnings, they're going to give the lawyer chances to comply, they're going to use less dramatic sanctions first. Only if the lawyer repeatedly defies court orders, only if they show complete disregard for the court's authority, would a judge move to arrest. And even then, there would typically be a process, a contempt hearing, an opportunity for the lawyer to explain or apologize, multiple steps before bailiffs are putting handcuffs on someone in open court. So, the dramatic immediate arrest scenario these videos present, while technically possible under extreme circumstances, is not how contempt proceedings typically work. And the idea that a Trump lawyer would admit everything on the stand and immediately get arrested, that's taking multiple legal concepts, lawyer admissions, contempt proceedings, obstruction charges, and compressing them into one perfect dramatic moment that's designed for YouTube rather than reflecting how real courts operate. This is a pattern we see across YouTube content about Trump's legal troubles. The algorithm rewards dramatization over accuracy. It rewards content that provides emotional satisfaction, even if that content isn't entirely accurate. And the consequences of this pattern are significant. When viewers are constantly exposed to dramatized content about immediate arrests and courtroom chaos, they develop a distorted understanding of how the legal system works. They expect dramatic moments and swift consequences. And when the real legal system moves slowly, when consequences take months or years to materialize, when accountability looks like boring procedural sanctions rather than dramatic arrests, they think the system isn't working. They think Trump is getting away with things, when actually the system is working. It's just working in the slow procedural way courts actually operate rather than the dramatic way YouTube presents them. Let's break down why this matters and what it tells us about how legal information spreads in the YouTube era, because this isn't just about one dramatized video. This is about an entire genre of content that's shaping how millions of people understand Trump's legal troubles. And the implications go beyond just Trump. This is about how misinformation and dramatization work in modern media. The immediate arrest narrative provides emotional satisfaction that real legal proceedings don't. People who think Trump should face consequences want to see it happen now. They want dramatic courtroom moments where justice is served in real time. They want to see his lawyers arrested, handcuffed, led away. That provides closure and satisfaction in a way that reading about sanctions or disciplinary referrals doesn't. So content creators who provide that emotional payoff, even if it's fictionalized, get massive engagement. They get millions of views. They get subscribers because they're giving audiences what they want, even if what they want isn't what's actually happening. The blurring of fiction and news is a massive media literacy problem. When videos use titles like judge orders, immediate arrest, and breaking, and just in, viewers reasonably assume they're watching news coverage of real events. And when the disclaimer that it's fictional is buried in the description or mentioned briefly at the end, most viewers never see it. So, they consume fiction as news, they form opinions based on scenarios that didn't happen, and they spread that information to others, telling friends and family about Trump's lawyers getting arrested without realizing they're spreading a fictionalized narrative. This content creates unrealistic expectations about how justice works. If you watch enough videos about immediate arrests and courtroom chaos, you start thinking that's how legal accountability happens. You expect dramatic moments. You expect swift consequences. And when the real legal system moves slowly, when consequences take months or years to materialize, when accountability looks like boring procedural sanctions rather than dramatic arrests, you think the system isn't working. Real lawyer misconduct in Trump's cases gets lost in the noise. Trump's attorneys have faced real consequences. Sanctions, disciplinary proceedings, license suspensions, bar complaints. These are significant professional consequences that affect their careers and reputations. But when the information space is flooded with dramatized content about immediate arrests that didn't happen, the real misconduct and real consequences get overlooked. People are waiting for the dramatic courtroom arrest moment, and they miss the actual documented sanctions and disciplinary actions that are happening through normal legal channels. The algorithm rewards dramatization over accuracy. YouTube's recommendation algorithm prioritizes engagement. Videos that get high click-through rates, long watch times, lots of comments and shares, those get promoted. And dramatized content about immediate arrests gets way more engagement than careful analysis of actual court filings. So, creators have a financial incentive to produce dramatic content, even if it's not entirely accurate, because accurate content doesn't perform as well. Boring procedural reality doesn't get millions of views. Courtroom chaos and immediate arrests do. So the algorithm pushes creators towards sensationalism and away from accuracy. This genre trains audiences to expect explosive breaking developments. When you see breaking judge orders, immediate arrest multiple times a week, when different channels are constantly promising explosive courtroom moments, you develop an expectation that Trump's legal situation is in constant crisis, that every day brings new dramatic developments. And when reality doesn't match that, when there are days or weeks where nothing explosive happens, audiences get bored or frustrated. They think nothing is happening when actually the legal process is moving forward at its normal pace. The constant drumbeat of fake breaking news makes real legal developments seem slow and boring by comparison. Understanding what real contempt proceedings look like is crucial for media literacy. If viewers understood that contempt is usually a gradual process with warnings and opportunities to comply before arrest happens, they'd be more skeptical of immediate arrest claims. If they knew that courtroom arrests of lawyers are extremely rare and make major news when they happen, they'd know to verify dramatic claims before accepting them. Media literacy means understanding how legal processes actually work, so you can spot when content is dramatizing or fictionalizing those processes. This content serves a political purpose beyond just entertainment. By constantly reinforcing the narrative that Trump's lawyers are crossing ethical lines, admitting to crimes, facing arrest, these videos shape political opinion. They make Trump look guilty. They make his legal team look corrupt and desperate. They create an impression that Trump's legal situation is collapsing, even when the actual documented evidence is more ambiguous. And in a political environment where Trump's legal troubles are a major issue, content that shapes perception of his guilt or innocence has real political impact. These aren't just entertainment videos. They're political messaging disguised as legal news. So, where does this leave us? We have a thriving genre of YouTube content presenting dramatic scenarios where judges order immediate arrests after Trump's lawyers admit everything. Most of this content is fictionalized or heavily dramatized, but it's presented using breaking news framing that makes viewers think they're watching coverage of real events. And millions of people are consuming this content and forming opinions based on scenarios that didn't actually happen the way described. The real story is more complex and less dramatic. Trump's lawyers have faced real criticism and real consequences in various cases. But those consequences look like sanctions, disciplinary referrals, and professional reputational damage, not immediate courtroom arrests with bailiffs and handcuffs. The legal process is working, just not in the dramatic visual way that makes good YouTube content. And understanding that distinction, understanding the difference between how courts actually work and how YouTube dramatizes them, is crucial for anyone trying to actually understand Trump's legal situation, rather than just consuming emotionally satisfying fiction. That's why we made this video. Not to say Trump's lawyers haven't faced problems. They have. Not to say there are no legal issues with his defense team. There are. But to say that the specific viral scenario of judge orders immediate arrest after lawyers admit everything is mostly dramatized content rather than documented legal reality. And if you want to understand what's actually happening in Trump's cases, you need to look past the viral videos and find verified reporting based on actual court records and transcripts. The judge orders immediate arrest genre isn't going anywhere. It's too profitable, too engaging, too perfectly designed for the algorithm. But you can choose not to be misled by it. You can choose to verify claims before accepting them. You can choose to understand how real legal proceedings work so you can spot dramatization. And you can choose to base your political opinions on verified facts rather than fictionalized courtroom drama. That choice, multiplied across millions of viewers, determines whether we live in an information environment based on reality or one based on whatever dramatic narrative generates the most clicks. And that's what's actually at stake here. Not whether Trump's lawyers get arrested, but whether truth still matters in how we understand politics and law. That's the real story, and that's what you need to understand to navigate the flood of Trump legal content filling your feed right now. We've covered the dramatic scenarios, we've covered the reality of contempt proceedings, and we've covered why this genre exists and why it's so popular. The key takeaway is this. When you see a video claiming that a judge ordered an immediate arrest of Trump's lawyers, check the source. Look for disclaimers. Look for court filings that confirm what the video is claiming. Look for mainstream news coverage from reputable outlets. If it happened, it would be covered everywhere. And if it only exists on YouTube commentary channels, you should be skeptical. This doesn't mean all legal analysis on YouTube is wrong. There are excellent creators who provide accurate, well-researched coverage of Trump's legal troubles. But the judge order's immediate arrest genre is mostly not that. It's dramatization designed for engagement rather than accuracy. And knowing the difference is the first step to actually understanding what's happening. The legal system is messy and slow. Justice doesn't usually happen in dramatic courtroom moments. It happens through filings and hearings and sanctions and appeals that take months or years. And that's not as satisfying as watching a lawyer get arrested in open court. But it's reality. And in a world where YouTube is filled with dramatized content that blurs the line between fiction and news, being able to distinguish between the two is more important than ever. Because what you believe about Trump's legal situation, whether you think he's guilty or innocent, should be based on what's actually documented in court records, not on what generates the most views on YouTube. In the age of viral content, the judge orders immediate arrest genre is usually dramatized, not real. Stay skeptical, ask questions, and know that the best defense against misinformation is critical thinking.